So here we are going to study about writing chemical formula. That means we will be learning here today how to write a chemical formula. Before going to that, let us see first, let us try to know first what is a chemical formula. So a chemical formula means it is the symbolic representation of its composition. Okay, it is the symbolic representation of its composition. This means that we have so many chemical compounds, chemical substances, and chemical elements. Now, these various elements, they have their symbols. So, for example, hydrogen, its symbol is H, oxygen, its symbol is O, chlorine, its symbol is Cl. So like that, we have so many elements, and all these elements, they have their own symbols. Now, for writing a chemical formula of a compound, we need to use the symbols of the constituent elements. For example, if we have to write water, its symbol, if we have to write, if we have to write the chemical formula for this water, then we should know the compositions of this water. We already know that water is composed of two elements. They are hydrogen and oxygen. Okay, hydrogen and oxygen. Now, this hydrogen, we know the symbol of hydrogen. The symbol of hydrogen is H, and the symbol of oxygen is O. So when we write the chemical formula for water, we have to use these two symbols, that is hydrogen and oxygen. Likewise, there are many other compounds, and those compounds also, for writing their chemical formula, we have to use the symbols for the constituent elements. What is valency? So answer we can give in simple words like this. It is the combining capacity. It is the combining capacity of an element. Okay, of an element. So what is valency? It is the combining capacity of an element. This simply means that different elements, they have different capacities, or they have different powers to combine with requirements one another. The requirements for writing a chemical formula. Okay, so what are the requirements for writing a chemical formula? The requirements are, first point requirements. First requirement is symbols of element. Symbols of elements. This is the first requirement. Then second requirement is valency. Valency of the constituent elements. Okay, so these are the two requirements for writing a chemical formula. So please keep in mind that for writing a chemical formula, the following 2 points are required. First point is symbols of elements. Symbols of elements means for the constituent elements, okay, for that particular compound. Then second point is valency of the rules for writing a chemical formula. Okay, so first point, the balances or charges on the ion, balances or charges on the ion must balance. Okay, the first point is the balances or charges on the ion must balance. Is when a compound consists of a metal and a non-metal, the name or symbol of the metal is written first. Okay, written first. Example, in sodium chloride, sodium is metal and chlorine is non-metal, so we write its symbol as NaCl, because Na is the symbol for the metal sodium and chlorine is the symbol for the non-metal chlorine. So like this, we have to follow second rule. Once again, rules for writing a chemical formula. First point, the balances or charges on the ion must balance. Okay, so balances or charges on the ion must balance. Second point, when a compound consists of a metal and a non-metal, the name or symbol of the metal is written first. Okay, the name or symbol of the metal is written first. Example, in sodium chloride, sodium is metal and chlorine is non-metal, so we write its symbol as NaCl, because Na is the symbol for the metal sodium and chlorine is a symbol for the non-metal chlorine. And third point, in compounds formed with polyatomic ions, the ion is enclosed in a bracket before writing the number to indicate the ratio. In case the number of polyatomic ion is 1, the bracket is not required. As you can see here in the example, first example, OH, this is a polyatomic ion and it has 2 charges. That's why we need to write here bracket. We need to put bracket. In the second case, there is no in this case, OH is the polyatomic ion and we don't need to put here bracket because this OH has only 1 charge or 1 valency. So in this way, we have to follow these 3 rules for writing a chemical formula. Okay, so now let's go to the next topic. Let's learn now how to write a chemical formula. Let us learn this, how to write a chemical formula by taking some examples. So first I'll take up say this sodium chloride. Okay, first example, let us see this sodium chloride. So for writing a chemical formula, we already discussed earlier that we should know the symbol for the constituent elements and their balances. So here we have in the compound sodium chloride, the constituent elements are sodium and chloride. Okay, here in sodium chloride, the constituent elements are sodium and chlorine. Okay, so we should know the symbols for the sodium and for the chlorine. So we know that for sodium, the symbol is Na. Okay, and for chlorine, the symbol is Cl. Actually, chloride means chlorine only. So these are the two symbols of the constituent elements. Okay, then what about the valencies? For sodium, the valency is 1, and for chlorine also the valency is 1. Okay, the valency is 1. So we can write now like this. The valencies we have to write below the symbols. Okay, then we have to follow the method. That means like this. So for sodium, we have to take the valency for chlorine. We have to take the valency for chlorine. Okay, then for chlorine again, we have to take the valency for sodium, and this we call crisscrossing. Okay, crisscrossing. So here by crisscrossing the valencies, that means the valency of chlorine we have to write with sodium, and the valency of sodium should be taken with chlorine. But before this, you have to know one thing. You have to remember that if there is any common factors, then you have to remove that common factors. That means you have to reduce to lowest possible values. Okay, you have to reduce to lowest possible numbers. For example, if we have here, let us say, if we have here, instead of 1 1, if we have here 2 2, then we can reduce this 2 2 in the form 1 1. So this one we have to keep in mind while writing the chemical formula. So now from here we get now Na1. Okay, so now since we have here balances 1 and 1, that once we no need to write here, so simply we can write here the formula NaCl. NaCl. So finally, this is the chemical formula for the compound sodium chloride. Okay, let's see this then one again. Let us see water. Okay, water. Now we know that the constituent elements of water are hydrogen, and the symbol for hydrogen is H, and the other constituent element is oxygen, and its symbol is O. So we know their valencies also. For hydrogen, the valency is 1, and for oxygen, the valency is 2. Okay, now by following that crisscrossing method, that means for hydrogen we have to take 2, so that is being shown by the arrow here. Then for oxygen we have to take the valency of hydrogen like this, crisscrossing. Then finally we will get what? In the next step we will get, that means H2. Okay, H2 and oxygen 1. For oxygen, that one no need to write, but for hydrogen we need to write. Okay, so that S suffix we have to write like this suffix. Okay, so H2O. So finally we get the chemical formula for water, that is H2O, oxide, calcium oxide. So for this we know the symbol for calcium is Ca, and for oxide means oxygen. Okay, so the symbol for oxygen is O, and we know their valencies also. For calcium it is 2, and for oxygen also it is 2. Okay, now let us do this crisscrossing here, then crisscrossing, then we will have here now in the next step, now we will have Ca2 then O2, right? Ca2 and O2. So like this we will have Ca2O2, but this 2 we can reduce further by dividing by 2. So we have here 1, and here also we have 1. So now we finally have Ca1O1, but those ones we no need to write. So finally we get the chemical formula for calcium oxide like this: Ca. See here, potassium chloride. Okay, potassium carbonate, potassium carbonate. We know that the symbol for potassium is K and the symbol for carbonate is CO3. Okay, CO3. And we know the valencies also. For valency of potassium is 1, then valency for CO3 carbonate is 2. Okay, now this 1 and 2, they don't have any common factor, and remember once again, potassium is metal, so we need to write metal K first here, then carbonate CO3 second. Now crisscrossing, then we have now K2. Okay, K2, then CO3. But see here we have K2, then CO3. Okay, for CO3 the valency will be finally 1, but that 1, since there is 1, we no need to use bracket here. But instead of 1, if there is other factor, then we may be using bracket with the CO3. But here in this case, we no need to use the bracket. So this is all about how to write a chemical formula.